guys. Welcome to a special members-only live shot of Steelers. I'm Dan Kovacevic. He over here is Chris Halleck. See him over there? I'm in downtown Pittsburgh. He's out in Penn Township, and we've been really busy.
Just a little bit.
But not so busy that we can't spend some time with you, our members here on our YouTube channel. And a chance to have a chance here to talk some more about the TJ Watt signing. That was why I wanted there to be like an hour between the double shot and this, so that we could kind of get our bearings here, do some writing, also do some more research, check with some more people about stuff. And Chris, if you can, for everybody, just go over the nuts and bolts of this, the dollar figures, what they actually mean, what they are.
Yeah. So this is a 3-year extension. So that's on top of the current contract, which expires at the end of this year. But so
he's here for another 4 years, is what it means.
Okay. Right. He is under contract through 2028. The extension itself is 3 years, $123 million, which is an average of $41 million a year, which is the highest for a non-quarterback in NFL history. But when you put it all together over the next 4 years, it's a little over 144 million, which is an average of 36 million a year. So ends up being, over the next 4 years, a very team-friendly deal in regards to allocation of the salary cap, which absolutely matters when you're talking about where your dollars go, how you pay your best players, and how much of the cap they're taking up. And he is now, over the next 4 years, based off of what he's going to make over the next 4 years, going to be taking up a significantly less percentage of the salary cap than he did whenever he signed his last contract extension back in 2021. So that's the initial part of it. So when we talk about total dollars, and then 108 million of all that money that's coming is guaranteed. So a high amount of that money is guaranteed. And again, when we're talking about seeing that it's a 3-year extension, not a 4-year extension, I have a feeling I'm kind of still working through and waiting for some answers on this kind of stuff. But based off of the way the Steelers typically do contracts, that might have been a little bit of a give and take. The Steelers did a shorter contract and then gave TJ more guaranteed money as a way to make up for it.
And they did it in a span. If we're keeping this real, and there's a lot of ground to cover with this thing, as much as we expected it, obviously, and saw it coming. Mm-hmm. There's a big difference between that and then processing what the details are afterward and what their impact is, not only in 2025, but also in the years to come. And part of the reason I think this needs to be made really clear to everybody, that you could guarantee the money that the Steelers did, in addition to trusting the athlete. Okay. Mm-hmm. He's not going to go bad on you in a couple of years and you're going to be eating. Okay.
Right.
What you have here is a scenario in which the Steelers can pursue their franchise quarterback. Stick with me here, because it's not going to sound like it has something to do with it. But if you go and you draft your franchise quarterback, or if your franchise quarterback is Will Howard, or if you just decide, Mason Rudolph becomes Sam Darnold Part 2, you're still not paying a quarterback for the next 3, 4, or 5 years. Okay. You want to, because you want to have that player in the fold. That doesn't mean that you can. And you're not going to pull an Andy Dalton here like the Bengals once did and say, well, we have a franchise quarterback too. Here, Andy, take all this money. See? Franchise quarterback. Remember that?
Yeah. But no, the great point that you make there about the quarterback situation is that you can afford to do this. And the thing is that even if they did have a franchise quarterback under contract, and they were paying like big money to a quarterback, they could still probably afford this. Again, this is taking up, when you take into account, I mean, I can do the quick math really fast and find out what 36 million divided by whatever the total cap is. And I can tell you it's less than 14%.
Less than 14, 14%. It's somewhere in that range here.
So I mean, when you talk about that, and you could still pay top tier money to a quarterback. But the great thing is, if everything goes right for the Steelers in terms of going into the draft next year, trading up and getting your quarterback at 7th overall or whatever, or 10th overall, whatever it is, you're not going to have to pay that guy for at least 3 years, probably.
Right.
Because if he's everything you ever dreamed he'd be, you'd like to sign him to an extension before he even gets into having to decide a 5th-year option, instead of having to, in between that year 3 and 4, where you're having to go, should we pick up the 5th-year option? Screw the 5th-year option. We're signing him to a long extension, and he's going to be our quarterback for however long. The great thing is that by the time that would come, TJ's contract is done. It's over. It's
over. That's right. That's right. He won't be around for that. Pops, with all due respect, brings up a great point. That's yet another discussion thing to throw onto the table. He's just so glad it's done, but I'm kind of surprised that it got done so early. Chris, I'm not going to lie. When we were doing our double shot a couple of hours ago, and we got word that he signed, that was my first reaction. Like very, very, very first was, oh, before camp, no hold in, no nothing. I had another thought about that though later. And I'm going to run this past you here. Mm-hmm. The longer you wait, if you're the Steelers, you don't have the player, you don't have the drama, whatever else here, but now somebody else can get signed. And there are other guys out there. I mentioned Trey Hendrickson of the Bengals. Boy, does he have the Bengals by the you-know-what.
Oh, my gosh. He had him there before, and now it's just even more.
And now this is Trey Hendrickson backing up the Brinks to Paul Brown Stadium or whatever the hell they're calling it this week. And you slide the truck back, and you're like, the door opens up automatically. And hey, guys, truck's open. Let's go.
Yeah.
The longer you wait, though, the more a chance that there are other players will sign. Now, there aren't many in his class. There aren't, obviously. And Hendrickson isn't in his class, by the way. But it just benefits everybody. Now, TJ comes in next Wednesday with everyone else. He takes the field next Thursday, a week from today, with everyone else. He's in touch and in tune with Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay and
so
a lot of dudes. Okay.
The other part of that, the perspective that I kind of view this as, and just having a second to kind of just sit and, mull over this a bit. This is all done now. And the fact that it got done now, it goes to show that not only did TJ want to get it done so he can just focus on the season, but the fact that Omar gets this done so that they can get to training camp with all the changes that have been made. There are now no distractions. And the fact that, and what will put like an even bigger emphasis on that is if they acquire a WR2 before the players report next year or next week. Because then it's like there's nothing to be like wondering about or anything like that. But even a WR2 edition at this point is kind of you kind of need it, but it's not like, oh my gosh, if you go into the season without one, this team can't possibly do anything. This roster is pretty set, and anything that you add to it from here on out is just going to put them in a better position than they were in before. But the fact that all the major stuff, the Aaron Rodgers stuff, is long in the past. TJ Watt, now done. Don't worry about it anymore. All the stuff is done so that they can just show up to Latrobe and get focused on what they believe. Everybody else can debate it, but what they believe is a real run at trying to win.
Sergio says, hey, DK and Chris, what do the Steelers need to complete this team? Obviously, that's going to depend on individual perspectives. I would look at the offense, and I would say that I still want the WR2. I believe that they're still going to get the WR2. And as I have been maintaining all along, I have never envisioned WR2 as being some sort of sexy ad. There's not going to be some big explosive name that comes along, or if it is a big explosive name, it'll be one who's not the same as they were maybe 2 or 3 years ago. We've gone over a bunch of these names, repeatedly through the months. But I would say that the ones that you're looking at Gabe Davis, if he can pass the health test, Romeo Doubs, if you wait out the Packers and their process. And from the other side of the football, Chris, are you a believer in that the Steelers still need to replace Minkah Fitzpatrick at free safety because there can't be another position involved?
The only The only part when it comes to free safety that I would look at, if you go, I would like to see one more NFL player added there. It doesn't necessarily have to be a starter caliber, because I think if Juan Thornhill is healthy, he's starter capable.
That's been a big if for a couple of years.
It has, but it's been mainly because of health. It's not been because of ability. We've seen what he's capable of. We've seen him be a pretty good safety, not lighting the world on fire, all pro, type of guy, but a very, very solid center field type safety.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have that with everything else that you have in place, with an insanely deep edge rushing group and a fortified defensive line group, and the linebacker position is strong still because of Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson in year 2. Cole Holcomb might be all the way back. And then you look at corner, my God, Joey Porter Jr., Darius Slay, and Jalen Ramsey. Free safety to me is like, you can afford for that guy to be average.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be anything special. Just make sure that whenever somebody goes through, be an 80% version of Ryan Clark.
DV points out, he says, now I'm terrified TJ's going to get hurt in camp when he could have been sitting and holding in. You know what? I mean, it's a fair thing to bring up, but it's also fair to relate to everybody here that Mike Tomlin does treat players differently based on their experience, their age, and let's call it what it is, their value.
Yep.
Okay. I can promise you that Cam Hayward's not going to be getting involved in a whole heck of a lot in training camp, at least not more than he wants or needs to. TJ, could he have individually dragged this out if he wanted to just avoid camp? Sure, he could have. Okay. Yeah. He wouldn't be the first or the last to do that. He didn't. And there's going to be an understanding there. Listen, there's 17 games plus playoffs. Okay. I've got Jack Sawyer, who now you're going to see a lot of. Okay. And that's not going to change just because TJ is in the fold doesn't mean you're going to see less Sawyer.
Yeah.
Okay. That's something else that Tomlin never apologizes for. He'll say right up, I don't need to see what 90 has. I don't need to see what 97 has. I want to see, Derek Harmon. I want to see Y.A. Black. I want to see Jack Sawyer. I want to see a more edge ceiling from Nick Herbig. Okay, let's get these guys more active. Let's have them be the ones that are more involved in the drills, in the preseason games and so forth. And let's make sure that TJ and Cam and everybody else is 100% ready to go for the game that matters in New Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, if it would have happened the same as it did last time, Mike Tomlin still would have been one of the happiest people on the planet knowing that TJ Watt couldn't possibly get injured.
He loves that hold-in stuff. He loves having that person standing next to him.
Yeah, for seriously, I do remember to a certain extent. I was covering baseball at the time, so I couldn't I was obviously from a distance, but I remember there being like headlines and stuff. Oh, TJ Watt's not doing this, not doing that. Then I remember having a conversation with somebody on the inside last year, and I just kind of asked about that. They were like, dude, nobody was more happy about TJ not possibly getting TJ not being at risk of getting injured than Mike Tomlin. Nobody was more happy about that. So he will do what he needs to do to keep TJ healthy throughout training camp and the preseason.
Within reason. Yeah. Right. TJ doesn't need the reps.
No, he doesn't.
And if and when he does, and the same goes for 97, you're going to see them make sure that they get them here. Florida Dave comes in with a $5 contribution. That's appreciated. It's a members-only show, so we're not going to do the usual hawking of memberships since all of you guys have already taken the bait. Florida Dave says, hey, DK, do you see this offense operating primarily out of the shotgun with Aaron Rodgers? Ooh, Dave's taking us to the other side of the ball here. Ooh. Or do you think he still has the legs left to change it up under center? I am happily going to throw that to the poor SOB who's suffered through 18 games of the other Jets. Yeah. Every single thing that Rodgers did in the 2024 season. Chris, does he still have the legs to change it up under center?
He has more legs than people want to give him credit for. I've seen the word statue been thrown out about Rodgers. He is not a statue anymore. Or like some people, like people are like, oh, he's a statue now. No, he's not. No, he's not. He can't move the way he used to like 10 years ago, but show me a 41-year-old who moves like a 31-year-old. They are very, very rare, even for some of the greatest football players of all time. That being said, I do think you will see, compared to the Steelers of 2024, you will see more shotgun and more pistol than you saw last year. I still think you're going to see a healthy dose of under center, though. But a really good way to kind of blend that is to run out of the pistol a little bit more. The Steelers did not use very much of it last year. But Aaron Rodgers is comfortable running out of both. So I think you could see more of it. Now, when I say more, I don't necessarily think that means the Steelers are going to primarily be a shotgun formation team. Like 60% of the time they're going to be in the shotgun. I'm not saying that, but because of this is where Arthur Smith is going to have to kind of tailor the offense. If he hadn't already, I mean, who knows? The playbook could have been tailored to him months ago with the expectation that he was going to show up. But compared to last year, yes, I think the percentage of more shotgun and more pistol is going to be higher than it was in 2024.
And lots of play action, as our friend 412 points out here. I've got some good entries starred over here. I first want to make a mention of Ben being today a 24-month member of the DK Pittsburgh Sports YouTube channel. That's appreciated.
Thank you.
Rod wants to know where the cap is. Cap is it's
healthy.
Getting there. It's yeah, but it's getting there. Okay, it's like we've been talking about it as if it's a phantom thing for months now, and it's past the phantom stage, isn't it?
Well, I mean, if the Steelers don't do anything to Watt's cap hit, they have right now, according to Spot Track, $25 million in cap space. Now, if they want to throw more money, and have Watt have a higher cap hit this year, so that can save some money down the road, then they can do that. They can afford to do that. But having $25 million in space right now is telling me that they are fully prepared to add more to this roster, because the Steelers typically spend pretty far up to the cap. I think they only carried over like $6 million or something from last year.
That's correct. Yeah.
So they typically spend pretty high up. They always reserve a certain amount of money, and because minimum contracts have gone up and because of practice squad numbers have gone up, they do account for more money than they used to like 10 years ago, because every dollar is accounted for during the season. But as of right now, like if they don't touch Watt's cap hit in 2025, they are sitting at $25 million in cap space. So I don't...
I mean, I get it that you've got a cap guy. He hates being called that in Omar as your GM, but there are advantages to that. No doubt about that. Casas Abdul Aziz came in with a $10 contribution. That's appreciated. He says, "Hey, DK, I'm from Oakland, California." Gotta love the distinction there, because when you say you're from Oakland around here, it means you're from 3 miles away.
Yeah.
I'm from Oakland, California, and I will be in town for the Steelers home opener this season. It'll be the first time I've been to Pittsburgh in my life. Wow, that's awesome, dude. Yeah. I will stop by your shop. Damn right you will, that week when I'm in town. That's awesome. We're at 224 Fifth Avenue, and we'll be waiting here for you with open arms. I'm always excited when people come to the city for the first time, because I love to hear their impressions, because it's like, this isn't what I thought it was. This is I'm watching football games and they're showing all these mills and the smoke and everything, and it's like, no, this is the most beautiful urban landscape in the world. You will not be disappointed by it here. Jack Long says, great point here, by the way, from Jack. Isn't it awesome that there will be no distractions going into Latrobe? And he even throws George Pickens in as an example. Can you think of one, Chris? Even like somebody who might turn into a jerk or something, like someone who's like on the cusp of jerkedness. It's not a word. No,
I mean, no. I mean, all the contract stuff has been taken care of. The next guys who are going to be up for contract, I mean, unless you really, really wanted to start negotiating with Jaylen Warren, who is going to be a free agent after this upcoming season. But I'm not even convinced that that's going to be done. Or maybe you'll talk to Calvin Austin, and who's going into the final year of his rookie deal. So maybe you can do that too. But it's not like Calvin Austin is going to sit there and be a holding guy. He's not going to sit there on the sideline holding a helmet saying, I need a new contract. Like, come on. Like, the Steelers are literally already right now actively looking for another receiver to add to the mix. Like, no, that's not Calvin Austin's stance. So, no, TJ was the last one to be, yeah, sorry. TJ was the last one to really get done. Let me make sure my gain's not messed up.
It might be. Yeah, Steeler in Utah says, I wore my TJ Watt t-shirt today. I haven't worn it since the end of last season. Good for you. For the people who are fans of this extraordinary athlete and extraordinary NFL performer, this is a great day. For people who are fans of the Steelers doing things the way that they do and keeping their truly great players in-house, in the fold, this is also a great day. Anybody who doesn't think there's value in that, I'm so sorry you're having a tough one. Okay. But not really. Okay. There is a way to look at this scenario from a broader perspective and to understand at the same time that this is affordable. That's the point that Chris has been making from the Double Shot show to this one for members only. You've got to understand that the amount of money that's being committed to TJ, the percentage of the cap that's being committed to TJ hurts nothing.
Yep.
Okay. They can handle this, and they can handle it in a way that doesn't come at anything else's expense. If you want to argue to the contrary, you are hereby and formally required to state what's being hurt by TJ making this money. I'm all ears. Tell me what position they didn't address to their satisfaction. If you want to say, I'm going to give you an example here. If you want to say offensive line depth, let's do that one.
Yeah.
Why did they go so cheap on the offensive line backups? Well, I have an answer for this. No one can afford those guys. Okay. No one. People, Dan Moore just got $80 million.
Yeah.
Okay. You were ready to throw Dan Moore onto the curb, and you still are. If Dan was here right now, you'd be willing to. And yet there is a team, the Titans, that are paying him $80 million to go play football for them. That's how much those guys cost. 0 positions, says Chris. Well, if they don't get the WR2,
yeah,
I don't think it's going to be because they're lacking money. I just think it's because of a lack of opportunity, but I also think they're going to get this guy.
Yeah, I agree. But and the one good thing about that, like compared to last year versus this year, because last year it quickly turned into Brandon Ayuk or nothing. And right now, I can think of, Gabe Davis is still out there. Amari Cooper is still out there. They're free agents. You can literally call their agent up, work out a contract, and you could definitely do that with Gabe Davis because he's been there. And as Matt Williamson pointed out on the Southside Beat, I don't remember if it was the last episode we did or the one before, but was literally wearing a Steelers shirt around the facility. During his visit. Like, I don't know how common that is. I don't know how common that is, but like, come on.
Yeah, right.
So if that was literally a scenario in which we're not signing you now, we want to see how the knee's doing in a couple months, then that might be the guy. But then there are always guys out there. Juwan Jennings has made it known he wants a new contract or he wants to get traded. Who knows how that plays out? Who knows what's going to happen with the Packers and the Texans and their complete overload of wide receivers that they have. There are a number of more options. And Chandler did say, didn't we sign Robert Woods? Yes, he could be in the mix and he could show up at training camp and be like, whoa, okay, he must have drank from the fountain of youth and he looks a lot better than he did with the Texans last year. Who knows? I don't know, but that's why you bring that guy in, because you want to at least want to see what he's got left, how much juice is left in those legs. But the number of options out there last year compared to this year it's way more than it was. And so I do think they're going to get that done, and they have the cap space to get it done.
Kyle comes in with a $10 contribution. That's appreciated. He says, DK and Chris, what was your personal favorite off-season move so far? I'll go first since you asked me first, I think. And it buys Chris a little bit of time to think about his, because I've been thinking about it for a while. And mine is the acquisition of DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
And my feeling on that is twofold. One, I feel like the entire move got blown up so fast that we didn't fully appreciate it. Why? Metcalf signed one day, Justin Fields gone to the other Jets the next. Yeah. And it was like, well, what was the point of getting this guy if there's no quarterback? It's like Island of Misfit Toys stuff, right?
Yeah.
You get the wide receiver without the quarterback. And the other component to it is, and I'm not going to lie, even when they got him, even though there was him and George in the same offense for about 5 minutes, all I'm thinking is this gives you the opportunity to get that guy out of here. And then they got that guy out of here. So I'm going to look at that as one fell swoop of a move, and I will go with Metcalf. What you got, Chris?
Yeah, that's a good one. I'll go with something else just to mention another one, and I'm gonna go one that's gonna rub some people the wrong way, and that's fine. But I'm gonna go signing Aaron Rodgers. I understand that the way that it went down was very unconventional, and it dragged out, and it got in the way of some of the voluntary team stuff, hence the word voluntary, not mandatory team stuff. He signed in time for the mandatory stuff, but what this does is it gives the Steelers a quarterback that better fits the way Arthur Smith wants to coach offense. I did not like the marriage of Arthur Smith and Russell Wilson in March when Russell Wilson signed last year. I just didn't like it. It didn't make sense to me. Arthur Smith wants to attack middle of the field out of play action. Russell Wilson doesn't like to throw to the middle of the field. It didn't make sense to me. And we saw it play out that way. There were times where you could definitely tell that, like, this is not – there were plenty of times throughout the year last year I'm like, this isn't the Arthur Smith offense that I watched whenever I would watch film from his Atlanta days, or even going back to the Titans, his days in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have this now, this really is a move that makes more sense for the offensive coordinator they have in place. Now, different situation next year when they try to draft a quarterback. You don't draft a quarterback based off of who the offensive coordinator is. If you have a chance to get a franchise quarterback, you draft the best quarterback you can get, and then you tailor the offense to that guy. But in this case, this particular instance, if you know you're not getting Justin Fields, he was literally the best option you could possibly have outside of having to pay Sam Darnold a boatload of money. Bang for your buck. To me, this was the best move outside of not signing Justin Fields.
Speaking on behalf of the greediest possible segment of Steelers Nation, Adam Reed comes in and says, I would take the fumble of the century from Washington's GM to get scary Terry McLaurin into black and gold. You can't, Adam, you couldn't handle like a half hour of joy here. It was like, no, man, get me Terry McLaurin too, and we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
There really is such a thing as not having enough targets to go around. I just want to throw that into the mix here.
There is. And
it does exist.
When you have DK Metcalf, who has gotten triple-digit targets every single season he's ever played, and when you have Jonnu Smith, who just had triple-digit targets for the Dolphins last year, and you have Pat Freiermuth, who's always been good for 70 plus targets, you're already starting to run out of targets. You're not even talking about the number of balls that are going to be thrown to the running backs. You're not even talking about any of the other receivers. We're just talking about the number one receiver and then the two tight ends. There will be another receiver. And if that's another receiver that is used to getting a whole bunch of targets, like DK just said, there's only one ball to go around.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you do have a quarterback in place who, as long as you can keep him vertical through the winter, he can distribute.
Yes.
I had to put the accent on the proper syllable there. Danny Blee says, I'm just glad TJ is handled. It doesn't mean there will be others that might get new. Does this mean, he's asking that there will be others who might get new deals like Calvin Austin? Boy, I'd really like Cal. I don't know that I'd go running to him. I want to see Cal make a step. Okay. And I not even Cal would argue with me when I say that step is still to come. His best is still yet to come. Let's see his best. And then from there, in fairness to Cal, let's see him get paid on his best. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You can lock yourself. Like, we're all hearing, that Cal's going to be a big part of this. I've been told that explicitly. He is WR3 in this offense. Okay. They have real plans for him. They have real ways that they want to utilize him as a big play threat, not just a dump off and fall down kind of guy. Okay. They want to utilize him. They want him to find open grass. Okay. Go ahead and do that. And then come with the handout here. Let's take a couple more today. We've been doing this for a little while now. To say the least. Brian says, the Steelers acquired DK Metcalf for a second rounder, and right now most teams' second round picks haven't signed. They'll sign.
Yeah. I mean, Joey Porter Jr. wasn't even signed by the time training camp started whenever he was going into his rookie year. So
what are their alternatives? Who the kid from the Bengals went back to Texas A&M, and you're going to start hearing stuff about how they're going to get outpaid on their NIL. Okay, great. You're still playing minor league football.
Yeah.
And you're risking blowing out your knee.
Yeah.
Or something else on minor league football. Who do you think is going to NIL you with 3 stripped ligaments? Let's not get never ever conflate college football and the NFL. They have nothing other than a sport in common. When it comes to financial realities, it's no.
I gotta say, I am going to make a concerted effort to watch more college football this season because I want to watch these quarterbacks in real time. Now, I'll have to do more deep diving and stuff like that after the season's over, but I'm going to watch more college football live this year because I want to see how things play out with Garrett Nussmeier and Lenore Sellers and Drew Aller and all these guys to see how
from
things
a quarterback perspective.
Yeah. Because it's going to be a potentially, we're talking next offseason could be a franchise-changing offseason if the Steelers do, in fact, end up pulling off a trade up and going and getting a quarterback.
Let's take one more good question for somebody who's got a good question. Most of these are just comments, which is fine. We welcome the comments too. Oh, here we go. Black and gold goggles. Do you think the extension takes TJ to retirement? It's just unfathomable that it wouldn't. There are different ways to look at that. Do you get to a point where maybe I'm just throwing this out there to be a jerk, but that he loses his wheels and he can't get back there? He's not the kind of guy that's going to force that issue. He's just not. I really believe that the signing bonus, for anybody who's wondering, was guaranteed at signing. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. The guaranteed money was guaranteed at signing. In other words, it's not something that has to get renewed or relooked at as the contract goes. So he's getting all that money regardless. Yeah. So what happens here? Do you have to force him out or nudge him out, Troy style? I don't think so. This is a guy with a lot of pride. I also think that he looks at Cam and he looks at what Cam does to keep himself in shape, and he's going to be a player for these next 4 years. Is he going to be this?
Right.
What we're used to seeing? That's a tough ask.
That is because the one thing, the biggest difference between TJ Watt and Cam Hayward is Cam Hayward's game is built on strength, and you can be 30 years old or 35 years old and be just as strong as you were at whatever age. And Cam Hayward still is. He's a bit slower than he used to be, but he's still fast enough. But he's also, his entire game is built on strength and doing that one arm shiver in which he just forces an offensive lineman backward with one arm because that's just what he's done for 15 years. TJ Watt's game is a bit different. His game is built more on speed, on getting around the edge. Now, technique. Yeah.
Lots of technique in that game.
But he's also not the smallest guy either. I mean, look at the picture that was posted on his Instagram. I mean, he is jacked compared to the guy like Nick Herbig. So he's also big and strong too. So I do think his game is going to deteriorate faster than what we've seen with Cam Hayward, because we have yet to see his game when he's healthy really
and
deteriorate.
It's a different position. It's a different position with different expectations. And
Right.
So much can be lost. But at the same time, I also believe that TJ himself is adaptable, that he's going to continually graft onto his technique. He's going to continually work to make sure that his physiology, his body, the way he maintains his shape agrees. I'm going to throw out the best example anybody could in Pittsburgh. Okay. That would be a certain 30-year-old right up the road here who happens to still be one of the top 10 players in the National Hockey League. And he hasn't changed a blessed thing about his style on the ice and technique and everything. But when you're talking about Sidney Crosby, you're talking about a workout demon and a half who has learned how to adapt with age. He saw some of his teammates who didn't do that. I'm not going to name names, but as they got older, they were just, and they were like, what happened? What happened?
Yeah.
What happened was you got older and you didn't do things differently. You can do things differently and adjust. Sometimes it's less weight. Sometimes it's more. But TJ is very much that guy. He takes his craft so freaking seriously.
He does. He is a workaholic. He works very, very hard. It was the same way as JJ Watt. JJ Watt was the same way. It's just part of that family. Derek Watt still looks like he can play. I saw a recent picture of him on social media, and he is still jacked. It's crazy, like the way that those guys take care of their bodies. But that part, and again, the Steelers don't do this kind of a contract at this age if they didn't have full trust in the guy to be able to play through that contract. Again, Omar Khan was very, very specific in terms, like, when he was asked about TJ at the combine, he threw in the term legacy players. He's like, I got to be around Hines Ward and Troy Polamalu. You're immediately thrusting TJ Watt into that conversation.
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Mike ends us on a silly note. Says if DK goes down midseason, I think he means me instead of Metcalf, will Chris fill in? Let's say, for example, DK makes a few too many comments about team handball. That would definitely put me out of commission for a while.
No food.
What's that?
No food.
No food, she says. So no food would definitely put me out of commission here on many levels here. Let's make a quick business check on those of you who were kind enough to contribute to the cause. Hendrick came in with $5. Much appreciated. Mr. Taylor came in with $5. He's coming in here to see our hockey writer, that being his daughter. He'll be doing that. Kyle came in with $10, also appreciated. And I'm looking up here. I knew there was another one here. Yeah, our man Florida Dave came in. Casas came in with $10 early on. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate everybody who's a member. We really enjoy doing these little. It feels like it's just a smaller room, you know.
Yeah.
Don't have to explain stuff as much.
Yeah.
So we'll be back with another regular old double shot tomorrow that probably won't be as eventful as the one was halfway through today. So we'll see all you guys then. Thanks so much for being members. We appreciate it.